Hello, welcome to IAS Factors Ancient India revision class for your UPSC Prelims. Let's discuss the next important session. And today's session we are starting with the important topic, the later Vedic period. So we have already discussed the Vedic period. So now we have to discuss the later Vedic period. So in the later Vedic period, we'll be discussing about whatever we have seen in the Vedic period, we have seen something in very detail about the Vedic period. So whatever we have seen in Vedic period, it is completely changed in the later Vedic period. So when you see the modern Indian society, like the society that we see here now, the society's beginning, the modern Indian society's beginning, especially the caste system, the rigidity of the society, everything takes its genesis from the later Vedic period. So that is what we have to give an equal important thrust. Let's start the session. Let's take the points. So obviously, read about more about me and yes, the later Vedic transition to state and social orders. What exactly do you mean by this thing? So before we go on to this, you need to understand. Previously, you need to know that few things that I want to make you understand as one. Previously, there were families. There was a kinship, but it was not a monarch type of a king. He was a king. There was no taxation. It was just Janasya Gopa, voluntarily offering balis. So there was no concept of a kingdom or something. It was an elitist group. Now slowly the families and the group of tribes, they slowly became a small kings. They slowly became power centers, and slowly after this power center, during the Mahajanapada period, this power center became a Janapada or a Mahajanapada. So the kingship or the concept of king was slowly evolving. It later on became more powerful, and in the Mahajanapada period, in the next session, we'll understand that it became even more bigger and bigger, and it became an empire. So this evolution can be first seen in the later Vedic period, and even the role of the women and the system, the society, everything is now changing to this. Everything has changed during the later Vedic period. So that is the change of the social order. Now, let's also understand the most important discovery that you can find out here is the discovery of iron. And there is also an interesting thing that I want to show you in the map of India. So previously, as you can see, most of the things in the Indus Valley and the later Vedic period, everything was happening around this Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Punjab region. Even the Aryans coming through the Punjab region, everything was at this point. And later I said the people, they went into an eastward expansion. They tried to make an eastward expansion like this, but this the Ganga Delta, the most fertile region in India is the delta, this Ganga Doab or this region. This was highly covered with forest. So how can you get into this region is because you should clear this forest. You should clear this forest, and in order to clear this forest, you need good number of tools. So to have good number of tools, the discovery of iron during the later Vedic period paved the big way for this, because with iron you could create more weapons, you could create more sharper tools, and they were used to clear the forest. So that in turn helped to expand towards the eastern part. So that take a look at again this map. So these are the important perspectives that you need to build. So this eastward expansion at this point, this continued with the clearing of forest, with the discovery of iron, and that is one of the reasons why these regions from the Mauryan period to the Guptan period till the post-Guptan period, you can see from Ashoka, Chandragupta Maurya, or even the Guptan kings, you can understand one very important factor, that this is from this region that India was completely controlled from the eastern region. One reason why all of these kingdoms got flourished there, because they started moving eastward. And whether it is Maurya, Gupta, India, the whole Indian subcontinent was controlled through that region. So kindly keep in mind that important factor. Now we will build some important facts. Ready? So we'll get the important facts here for the examination. So the period is 1000 BC to 600 BC. Vedic period is 1500 to 1000, and Later Vedic is 6000 to 600 BC. It goes backwards. and the region is eastern Punjab, western UP expanded into the Gangetic plains of India. The Indo-Gangetic plain, the most fertile region in the world, one of the most fertile region in the world. So Aryans migrated eastward from the Sapta Sindhu region into the western and eastern Gangetic plain. Dense forests in this region were cleared using iron tools, Krishna IAS. This allowed the development of permanent agriculture, leading to started village and emerging towns. So that is important. What is the concept of Krishna IAS? That is the iron tool. Please remember, if you see the word Krishna IAS, it is an iron tool. So that is Krishna IAS. Know in detail. And slowly moving on to the next important thing is iron was discovered and used during the later Vedic period. So iron tools refer to the Vedic text as Krishna IAS or Shama IAS, meaning black metal, because you know Krishna means black. That is what it means. So Shama IAS or Krishna IAS. So as I told you in the picture, as I narrated in the picture, this forest was cleared, clearing dense forest of the Indo-Gangetic plains, improving agriculture tools like plowshares, sickles and axe. So obviously when the iron tools came in, agriculture also increased. That is the reason why agriculture productivity also increased. So please remember all these points and archaeological evidence, and that is the reason why surplus production also happened. So surplus production and settled life. People started to settle down. Big towns started to be built. Like you see the Mauryan towns, Mahajanapada times, big towns started to come in. So remember that point in detail. And what is the archaeological evidence? You can find the implements at PGW, the painted graveware sites such as Hastinapur, Ahichatra, Kausambi, all confirms the PGW. So these are all later Vedic things to be remembered. So please remember Krishna IAS, the founding of iron. Obviously, agriculture was increased and iron technology. Iron tools enabled deeper plowing and forest clearance, revolutionizing agriculture productivity. So with the advent of iron, not only was the forest cleared, the agriculture productivity also increased multifold. That has to be remembered. So shift from pastoralism to settled agrarian life. When the forest was cleared, people started to build towns and they started to live in cities. So pastoralism to agrarian life. Surplus production also is also something that to be noted here. So all these aspects are to be found here. And the next important point, let's take the facts. The Varna system becomes hereditary. This is very important. Very, very, very important. I am a Brahmin and my son automatically by default becomes a Brahmin. Whether he loves, he cannot be a Vaishya, he cannot be a Shudra, he cannot serve, he cannot fight, and he cannot trade. If I am a Brahmin, my son should be a Brahmin. So it became more rigid and birth based. Previously, my brother was Kshatriya, my brother was Vaishya, he did, or my sister was Shudra, they did whatever they liked. But now, it is not so. Kshatriya gained political power, Vaishyas became agriculturalists, traders and artisans, Shudras were excluded from ritual and education. This is what the caste system in India, the genesis of the caste system starts here. Vedic, it was just a convenient, it was a division of work, the passion that you want to chase. But now, obviously out of the four Varnas, Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Shudras and Vaishyas, obviously Kshatriyas dominated, they became the kings. So obviously, king's sons is a king. Raja ka Raja beta hota hai, that is the common usage that you normally give. A king's son is a king. An emperor's son is an emperor. A teacher's son is a teacher. So birth-based things started to have the modern thing. And the rise of jati or subcaste. Occupational groups and guilds formed hereditary and subcaste. This marked the beginning of the caste rigidity which is to be noted here. So that is something that you need to be note here. So subcaste, even you have a caste called Brahmins, or there is a group called Brahmins. You have subcaste of Brahmins like this. Just imagine, India is full of subcaste. Even for a caste, even for a subcaste, there is multi-subcaste. All these things now in the modern India is actually can be traced back to this period. So remember, rise of jati is also important. And the tribal polity gave to the monarchical kingdoms or Rajya. Now, previously, that was a tribal polity or a small king, a elite, a headman like of a thing. Now it is moving on to monarchical kingdom. The concept of king, emperor, the concept of state. You normally say the concept of state has changed. Previously, it was a society based on tribal thing. We are all group of people deciding this. Now it has moved on to a more complex thing. Kings performed elaborate rituals, Rajasuya, Ashwamedha, and Vajapaya. So Rajasuya, Ashwamedha, you know what it means. Ashwamedha is very popular in Ramayana and Mahabharata. It's very popular. That means you to take a horse and you make the horse run. So this is a territory. This is a horse running. If this horse crosses the territory and if somebody stops it, then they'll have to fight with the king. Imagine that this is a territory. This is a horse running in. And nobody stops the horse. The horse passes through that kingdom. Automatically, that means the king of that land has accepted the suzerainty of the king. The king has accepted the suzerainty of the emperor. If they stop it, then they'll have to go for a war. So Ashwamedha, chariot race sacrifice, Vajapaya, even drinking challenges were launched. Kings will drink with each other, and whoever drinks more gets the kingdom. There are many other things like this. So Vajapaya, Ashwamedha, Rajasuya can all be seen in later Vedic period. So the king became the protector of dharma, backed by priestly. So the importance of Sabha Samiti that was seen in the later Vedic period completely declined, indicating centralization of power. So that is also to be noted. So family kinship, rise of patriarchal family, the Pitru Satta. So now everybody talks about patriarchal mindset, patriarchal. So you say male and female dominated. Even the ancient times of the Vedic times, even males and even females had equal rights. But what happened is, later Vedic time, it became more of male dominated or patriarchal or Pitru Satta. So obviously women's right, female oriented stuff started going down. So Gotra system can be identified. Gotra can be identified. Exogamous marriage outside Gotra became strict. So even subcaste Gotras started to come in. Women's right further eroded. No access to Vedic education. Denied participation in rituals. Widow remarriage discouraged. So obviously you can see the women's rights. The women's rights is declining here. Family became the basic unit. So these are all different. I think the things that happened in the later Vedic period, it is still continuing in the modern times. So Genesis goes back here. So agriculture became dominant. Barley, wheat and rice was started to use. Private property began to emerge. Potters, carpenters, metal workers, barter system, use of iron tools, implement, everything is the economic development of the later Vedic period. Barter system was there. And the most important one, guild is an important thing. What do you mean by guild? Guild means Shreni. It has its own powers. Like imagine that we have a guild. Say we have a guild of barbers. Imagine, for an example, we have a guild of barbers. It's an association like Barbers Association. Every buddy has got it's a group of carpenters. There is a guild for that. Different type of guild. They have their own rules and regulations. And to some extent, they can they have some judicial power, in the sense they do not have unlimited judicial power, but they have the right to take action against a member of their guild. So that was limited. That was definitely there, but the extent was limited. So they could take action against their members. So guild or Shreni is also important. Know about this. And ritualism increased. Elaborate yajnas dominated religious life. Brahmanas gained social supremacy because everything was revolving around sacrifices. You want a good son, you want a cattle, you want anything, you do a yajna, you do a home, you do a homa. So whatever you do a yajna, you do a sacrifice, ceremonial yajna or a ceremonial homa. So what happens is, when you do all this thing, Brahmins need to be there. So Brahmins' supremacy automatically increased. So some people started questioning ritualism. This led to the composition of Upanishads. Very, very important thing. The literal meaning means sitting by the side of Guru, means Upanishad. So Upanishad basically had two important, very important concepts. One is the Brahman concept, and then is the Atman concept. So Atma and the Brahman. So it believes that when we die, our Atma goes back to the Brahman, and it is mixed there. It gets mixed up, and it's completely unison. It's completely in unison. So it is actually a mixing process where it completely rests. Atman goes back to the Brahman. This is exactly the concept of Sufism. We learn it in medieval India. What is the concept of Sufism? So please understand, elaborate dominated this. Then the karma and moksha concepts were already coming in, and also Buddhism and Jainism were inspiring from all this. So Vedic knowledge was dominated by the Gurukula, you know this. So tech, Brahmanas, rituals, Aranyakas, forest songs or forest treaties, Upanishads like philosophy, all were new to this. So definitely PGW is a pottery, painted graver can be found in this time. PGW and Hastinapur, Kausambi and Ahichatra are all important places regarding this. And this is the stage. We saw the Vedic period, we saw the Indus Valley period, we saw the Vedic period, we saw the later Vedic period. Now it is the stage for the Mahajanapada. You saw there was no setup of king, there was only elite people, and slowly it became tribal kingdom. We had a tribal king, and from tribal king you see it became a small monarch or a monarchy type of system where there is a king, and now you have the Janapada, and then the Mahajanapada. It became a big thing. So you will really understand it exactly goes like this. So imagine that during the later Vedic period, imagine that this were small tribal groups in the Vedic time. It became a village, it became a main village. They were all small tribal groups. So it became another village. So this is A, this is B. So definitely this A is controlled by a king. It's very different than the previously they had a king, it had a small king, it had a small leader. Now it is a one king. B also similarly for all this there is a king. So what happens is they were fighting with each other during this time, and during the Mahajanapada period there were many kingdoms like this, like small kingdoms called C, small kingdoms called D. What happens this one region, this complete region became a single kingdom or a Mahajanapada. I hope there are 16 Mahajanapadas which we learn later. So this is how it converted from a small thing. It became a small thing like this, and it became a larger Mahajanapadas like Magadha. So this is how the stratification and the social system, the political system included. Kingship was no longer elective. Rise of ministerial position like Mahishi, chief queen, Sangrahitri, treasurer, Bhagaduha, tax collector. They're all showing bureaucratic elements started to come. The concept of Rashtra began emerging. Just like I showed you the picture. This is how modern states came in. Bigger states started to come in. So the political system is slowly like this. Have an idea? And there is also some concepts of ethics coming in. Dharma began to be understood as social and moral duty. The concept of rin, very important for the exam, of rin to God, debt to gods, ancestors, teachers, etc. emerged in the Brahmanas and Upanishads. They were written like that. So moral conduct and truth, Satya, Dharma were also important in this period. The concept of rin. So guilds began to form among artisans and traders. This is what I said, guild or shreni. They have their own rights. And rice means, vrihi means rice. A major staple crop. Because Indo-Gangetic plains, they could irrigate and they could plow more agriculture productivity. They used iron. So obviously rice was cultivated. Early reference to cowries and nishka gold ornaments as currency. Like you must have heard about the karshapana, cowries, nishka, all these were the currency of these times. And Sanskrit became more refined. And later on, it got Panini. Later on, Panini came in, not at this time, but Sanskrit became very popular. The ritual Sanskrit, Chandas, remain different from the spoken dialect Prakrits. So spoken and written was entirely different. Ritual Sanskrit Chandas was different from the spoken dialects Prakrit, which was spoken. And the concept of tapasya, austerity, inner power gained prominence linked to ascetic thing. And gods like Prajapati, god of creature, and Rudra, later Shiva, gained importance. So Indra, Varuna, Agni's role was slowly faded away. Now you had Prajapati, Rudra, etc. So this is the time where you should remember there were 33 grades of God. There are 33 grades of God. That means you have a sun god, universe god, land god, water god, space god. There are 33 types of gods. So no temples yet. Rituals remain centered around household and open fire altar or Vedis. So 33 grades, but still Shiva, Vishnu, all they are not so far. The concept of rebirth, Punarjanma, was introduced, and even Brihadaranya Upanishad talks about transmigration. Transmigration. You can migrate from one body to another. You can control another body. So famous Upanishad, there are more than 100, there are around 100 plus Upanishad. The most popular one, the biggest was Brihadaranyaka, the Kena Upanishad, Chandogya Upanishad, Katha Upanishad, different type of Upanishads here. And different type of marriages also came in. The Anuloma marriage and Pratiloma marriages, like inter-Varna union. Pratiloma marriage is a lower caste boy. It's a lower caste boy marrying a higher caste girl. Anuloma is a higher caste boy marrying a lower caste girl. So start of untouchability concept such as more marginalized Gurukula system excluded Shudras and women. They did not, from there discrimination starts. They do not include Shudras. That is why they do not have rights to education. So more thing, Vedic chanting, like Chandas, which has every Vedic chanting has got an intonation. It has got a meter, it is called Chandas. There is a meter of reciting a Veda or chanting a sloka. And another important thing is music and dance. Samaveda is obviously the music one. Melodies like Samagana were all discussed. Horse-drawn chariots, bows, axe, javelins are the weapons that you can find here. So all these are, and also something about the army. You can also take a look at this important thing. Formation of standing army was absent. Like you have a standing army. In the Nanda period, in Mahapadma Nanda's time, there was a standing army. Ashoka had a standing army. Akbar had a standing army. So all these needs to be, there was no standing army in later Vedic. Now let's get some terms correctly, and before we end this. Rajasuya we already discussed, royal consecration ritual. Ashwamedha, horse sacrifice. Vajapeya, chariot race. Janapada, territory with defined borders. I said there is a territory, like you remember this picture? Small villages, they all became one Janapada, and then it became many Janapadas merged together. Many Janapadas merged together to form Maha Janapada. Rashtra state, Mahishi is chief queen. Bhagaduha is tax collector. There is a tax which has been collected. Sangrahitri, treasurer. Gotra, lineage. Anuloma, marriage of higher Varna, male with lower Varna. Pratiloma, higher Varna, female with lower Varna. Tapas, tapasya. Shraddha, offering. Rin is a moral debt to God, teacher and ancestors. This concept can be asked in the exam. What is the concept of Rin? Nishka is a gold ornament used as currency. Vrihi is rice. Always remember, Vrihi is rice. And painted graveware is the Vedic culture pottery. Lord of creatures. Lord of creatures is Prajapati, Prajapatya. Rudra is an early form of Shiva. Samaveda, music. Brahmana is an extension and explanation of Vedas. Aranyaka is forest songs. Upanishad is philosophical text discussing soul reality revelation. It talks about Brahman and Atman. Chandogya, it's a principal Upanishad. Brihadaranyaka, one of the oldest and the most important Upanishad, it's Brihadaranyaka. And look at the 8 forms of marriage. This period talks about 8 forms of marriage. 4 are recognized and 4 are not recognized. Just imagine. So let's understand which were the recognized marriage. 1. Brahma, Daiva, Arsha, Prajapatya. Brahma, Deva, Arsha, Prajapatya are the type of marriages. You cannot do a love marriage in the later Vedic time. That is not approved. Brahma means marriage of a girl to a man of good conduct. You do it in the presence of a priest. You do all the ceremonies, etc. It is the most ideal. Brahma marriage, highly approved. Daiva marriage is given as a gift to the priest during you. It's a religious transaction. You give your daughter to a priest. Daiva vivaha. Arsha means groom gives token bride price, cows, etc. The groom, the man goes to the girl and gives prizes, etc. Arsha. It is approved but very inferior. That is the key. Prajapatya means given with a blessing for duty based on moral. So there are different type. Brahma, Daiva, Arsha, Prajapatya are different marriages. These marriages are not approved. Gandharva, Asura, Rakshasa, Paishacha. So Gandharva means love marriage, a normal love marriage. It is not tolerated. It is tolerated to some extent. It's okay. Asura means marriage by giving wealth to the brides. It's a commercial like type of a marriage is disproved. Rakshasa and Paishacha are marriage by abducting the bride. You see that there is a girl here. You go and abduct the girl. You take the girl and you marry her. That is Rakshasa. Kshatriyas do this. Disapproved. And Paishacha means you see a girl is there. You go, you rape the girl, seduce the girl, outrage the modesty of the girl, and then exploit it. This is Paishacha Vivaha. This is condemned, disapproved. Asura. Gandharva is tolerated. Love marriage is okay, but not ideal. So these are the different type of marriages. So remember, Brahma, Daiva, Arsha, Prajapatya, Gandharva, Asura, Paishacha, Rakshasa. So all these are important things. So before we end this session, one thing that you need to know about the Vedic and later Vedic period. This is a question that was asked in the UPSC also. What is the battle of 10 kings or Dasharaknya Yuddha? 10 kings, battle of 10 kings. So understand this. On the banks of river Parushni, identified with Mod river. So Parushni is Ravi and Bipas is Bias and Satudri is Satlej. Like this, there are different names for that. Satudri is Satlej, Bipa is Bipas, Parushni is Ravi. So likewise, there are different names, location. The main conflict is between the King Sudas, the Sudas of the Bharata tribe. So on one side you have the King Suda, the leader of the Bharata tribe. The King Suda versus 10 tribes, 10 kings. That is the battle of 10 kings. Sage Vasishta, his Purohita, the priest. Whenever there is a battle, there are two Purohita also. On the Suda side, it is Sage Vasishta. On the opposite side, 10 tribes, it is Vishwamitra. So it's more of a mythical type of thing. So obviously Suda won. So assertion of Bharata dominance in the Sapta Saindavari. That is the Suda one. He is a Bharata king. So Bharata tribe. You must have heard about the Bharatas of Mahabharata. So battle of 10 kings. So Suda versus 10 kings. The 10 kings are Purus, Druhyus, Anus, Turavas, Yadus, Alinas, Paktas, Bhalnas, Shivas, Vishanins. Very difficult to learn. So try to recollect it, but it's okay. It's okay not to remember all of that names. So remember this. This was actually based on the sage Vasishta versus Vishwamitra. So between the gurus, there was a battle. There was a reason, the dispute between the gurus and also river water treaty. This was like the Kaveri river water sharing on the Ravi river. Dispute regarding the Parushni river water, Ravi. The battle was also one of the reason. So this is the end. These are some of the important things of later Vedic period. And now, as you can see, we'll slowly move on to one thing that you have to see. We have the timeline here very clearly for you. We had the prehistoric period, and we have the Indus period, we have the later Vedic period, we have the later Vedic period. Obviously, now the most important thing is Mahajanapada. You saw how small villages became bigger and Mahajanapada became, and in between that we have two important topics, Buddhism and Jainism. And after Mahajanapada, we learn about the Mauryas, and then the post-Mauryas, then the Guptas and the post-Guptas. These are the important things to be learnt. Okay, so read more about this. We'll see for the next session.